Please take your seat. We'll be starting in just a few minutes. For everybody standing, please take a seat. If you're standing on the right side of the stage in the back of the room talking to your friends, we ask that you please take a seat. We're just about to begin. Please grab a seat, move to your chairs. We're just about to begin a very, very exciting day. Please take your seats. You'll have plenty of time to network and hand your resume, and talk to your friends later. Good morning, everyone. Are you excited to be here today? I don't believe you. Are you excited to be here today? That sounds a little better. Now, please put your hands together and help us welcome the Corporate Vice President of Customer Experience at Devrev, Molly Holland.
Welcome, welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us at our second ever Effortless here at Levi Stadium and our 4th anniversary of Devrev. I'm so excited to be here today. We have an awesome day planned. I am really the front line of what it means to be creating the world's most customer-centric companies. I lead our customer experience organization at Devrev, and I'm so happy to welcome so many of our amazing partners, friends, customers here today that have been with us on this journey and shown us what it means to create more customer-centric companies. As many of you know that have worked at startups before, startups are high highs and low lows, right? And they also give you many years of many firsts. So I wanted to talk about a couple of the firsts that we've had at Devrev in the past year that I'm particularly proud of. So the first one is we announced a record-breaking Series A funding round. Another is we had our first app published to our public marketplace by a customer and a partner. Give it up for our product and engineering teams. Another first that we had is we received our first patent. Yeah, pretty exciting. And the last one that I'll mention that I'm particularly grateful for is we signed on our first ever Devrev partners. Yeah. So I wanted to stop there, although the list could go on, and thank companies like NVIDIA, AWS, Wisdocity, QK, and August Digital for taking the leap with us and believing in the Devrev vision and joining us as partners. So thanks to all of them for helping us make things like this happen. All right, you're in for an exciting agenda today, although I have to say I am still a little skeptical. Have any of you ever heard of a silent corporate disco before? No? Yes? Wow, okay. It's going to be awesome? Okay, it's going to be awesome. All right. I don't know. We'll see. But I have to say, regardless of how the silent disco goes, we have a really exciting closing keynote event that I don't want any of you to miss. So please don't leave too early. We have Naveen Chadha from Mayfield and Vinod Khosla from Khosla Ventures that will be sharing the stage today for the first time ever. And we have some exciting awards and happy hour that will be happening at the end of the day too. So please stick around, keep your attention. We're so excited. We have a fun-filled day ahead. So without further ado, I wanted to just give one more reminder. Election Day is right around the corner. As technology leaders and industry experts, please get out and vote. It is our civic duty. And with that, I want to introduce Jeff, who is our beloved MC, and will be taking great care of you all today and filling you with lots of giggles.
How about a big hand for Molly? Welcome. Welcome to Devrev Effortless 2024. Let's hear it, Silicon Valley. What a day it's been getting here by 8:30 in the morning through Silicon Valley traffic, finding the right door to come in, finding where we are. That in itself was effortless, right? Before we go further, how about one more acknowledgement for our wonderful host today, Devrev, the whole production crew, the executive staff. Give them a big hand, folks, for having us here today. And I want to once again thank them for outsourcing their MC duties to me. Their NDA, their non-DAISY attendee. Here I am. Thank you so much. That's for you there. And so much to celebrate, so many exciting things happening. I just celebrated a new year, Rosh Hashanah, and in honor of that, I've actually re-released my own LLM engine called ChatGPT. I'll wait for you. Some of you need a little longer on that one. We use OI instead of AI, and it will accurately predict how disappointed you will be in your children. Thank you. And of course, welcome all my friends here from Canada. They're actively using AI. Okay, people, come on. They're going to get harder. Stay with me. I know it's early, but also another holiday around the corner. Happy Diwali, early Diwali. How about a hand? It's coming up here. Very exciting. And it also falls at the same time as Halloween this year. So I understand Dheeraj will be giving out gulab jamun today, this week for Halloween. But I have to tell you, I am so impressed. By the way, anybody here of Indian descent? Anybody here from India today? 85%, I'll give you that. But it's really wonderful to be here, and I'm always so impressed by the success of people who come from India, your contributions to science, technology, engineering, IT, and all I have to say is someday maybe somebody of Indian descent will even run for president. I'm counting on you, okay? Oh, wait, Vivek Ramaswamy, that's right, I'm sorry. Oh, now you're paying attention, that's right, but you have to be very proud, as a matter of fact, that there's over 4.9 million Indians in the US are the highest earning ethnic group. So give yourselves a hand, which is important. And then you take all that money and buy Teslas and pay for SAT prep courses for your children. It's okay. That's why you have to have the money. So thank you. But I was told that whatever we do today, don't talk about the elections. I left that to Molly. And don't talk about Diddy. I think this side of the room is a little faster than this side of the room, but I will not talk about either, but I will say this. After they investigated Diddy, they sent in the Indian investigator, and he found 1,000 jars of ghee Okay, let me move forward. Did I lose anybody on this side of the room? Okay, folks, are we ready for a great day today? Are we ready for a great day? Couple of housekeeping items. First of all, we have a packed schedule. This morning, we're going to do a lot together, so we need everybody's focus. We need everybody's energy. Pay attention, listen, clap, make noise. The more energy we give the speakers on stage, the more they're going to give to you. So let's practice. Do we have energy? Are we excited to be here today? Yes. Congratulations at 10 in the morning. Also, there are giveaways, there are bags, there are pens, there are notebooks. Please take them, okay? Some of you, I don't have to tell you, have bags full of them already, I know. Make sure you take them. I have a bag. And also, that bag, it's a donation to Feed, so it feeds people in need. So please take it. We're making a difference. Also, please acknowledge over here, we have Nora from ImageThink, who's going to be doing a live artistic capture. She's going to be capturing it. Incredible. Now, to kick us off, I can't think of a better speaker who's been a friend for over a decade of mine. He is the co-founder and former CEO of Nutanix. He's a board member of Adobe. He's a philanthropist. He's one of the most encouraging human beings I have ever met. And more importantly, he is the CEO and co-founder of Devrev. Who better to speak about de-risking change than Dheeraj Pandey?
Well, that's a hard one to follow, but I'll try, Jeff. And it's not just chutzpah, it's all the courage that he brings. But thank you, everyone, for being here. And thanks to a lot of the familiar faces. Thanks to everybody who really put a lot of their attention to detail, and they brought their authentic best to every pixel of this conference. It means a lot to us. Now, the best conferences are not hub and spoke, and we definitely are not the hub. The best conferences are really peer-to-peer, it's the mesh. And we learn from each other, and we bring the power of social proof. So let's bring your best stories on, because that's what the best conference is all about. Also, the best conferences are not about buyers only, it's not about users only, it's about buyers and users. And the best companies, I hope this works. Okay, testing 1, testing 2. And looks like we have a distance problem. I'm sorry about that. We'll try to make this work. Okay, good, great. A round of applause for the fact that tech actually works. The best companies and products, they also celebrate the tension. And there's a tension that we will talk a lot about in this room, in this industry, about them versus us, agents versus apps. And I think the best companies and products that celebrate that tension. And more importantly, I think over the course of this decade and more, you'll see this conference make a case that AI and design are two sides of the same coin. So in the next 15 minutes or so, you'll see me talk about the why, because why not? You start with why. And in that why, all of us will have to really say, why are we doing this? What's the real value of AI? And the thing that I've really convinced myself about AI is we are constantly struggling between work and life. And if there's one thing it could actually do, if we can restore some balance of work and life, if machines can do some of the toil, some of the stuff that we get bored of, or it's repetitive, then maybe we can actually focus on fewer things, but better. So that's the case that we want to make today. Now to do that, let's take a step back. Let's look at software that was conceived almost 20 years ago. Let's call it SaaS 1.0. For lack of a better word, we'll call it SaaS 1.0. And it really was boxed. It was a system that was built, and lots of these boxes that are built over time, but it was like a gadget, like a tool. It would do its thing, and then over the course of the last 10 years, it became really easy to create companies and create products. So we created lots of these gadgets, and we created more and more of these, some of them just for features. They're not even products, forget about companies. But the market kept saying, look, we got to really break the mold. We got to have this thing be more fluid. It should talk to each other, as opposed to the way it was conceived as being boxed. Now, it has become so bad that companies are taking control of their destiny. They're saying, look, I need to do this myself because it's so complex. There's so many of these boxes. I need to simplify. I need to containerize. I need to really canonicalize a lot of what I do. But this is not scalable. It's not maintainable. It's not extensible. Even when you bring an AI company to come and do things for you, it just won't extend. It won't maintain. It won't scale itself. So the problem statement is here. Now, this is not a new problem. 15 years ago, Oracle went on an acquisition spree and bought a lot of companies. And a lot of you in the enterprise said, but who's going to integrate all this stuff together? So Oracle said, we're going to fuse this. We're going to fuse a lot of these things, and we'll integrate it to the best of our abilities. And they took 7, 8 years to fuse them, to the point by the time they were done, the goalpost had moved. It was about cloud. And customers realized that this thing that they'd fused was not ready for the cloud. And in many ways, we are at a very similar juncture, because Slack and the enterprise bus, they're not the best ways to really integrate your apps. If anything, the puck has moved already. There are things that are better than Slack now that can actually help you really bring you into conversations and engagement. And that's the problem that we'll talk about today. Now, the best platforms have always broken down silos, and we appreciate a lot of them. If anything, SaaS was about that. It shifted a lot of the complexity. They're like, hey, we can do the hardware, we can do the operations, we can do the upgrades, we can do some of the security. And all you need is APIs. We'll do the sandboxing, the test and dev, all these things that you needed so many teams to come together. We will do this for you. And the more things change, the more they remain the same. The biggest opportunity for AI is really ease of use and integration, like it was 20 years ago, like it was 30 years ago. But now we have new surfaces. We have new surfaces that are even more lightweight than what we've actually seen before. If anything, one of the things we talk about is beyond just surfaces is without the data, you cannot integrate. And we know this. It's the lifeblood of any enterprise, and it's fragmented. So the big opportunity is to really talk about a knowledge graph. You'll hear about the knowledge graph a lot today. But it needs to have some ethos, some virtues. It needs to be commodity. And what is it about commodity that's so special? For one, it's inexpensive. It's democratized. Everybody, modular security has access to this knowledge graph. And it also runs at scale. It's built for startups. It's built for the mid-market. It's built for the enterprise. And that is one of the most important things that we believe this new tech has to do, is to really commoditize this data. Of course, be fast and real time, in sync with a lot of your systems. I think that to us is a big opportunity. Now, this knowledge graph is a lot of things, but the two most important things, what you build or serve, and who do you serve, the customer and the product, we have to bring it everywhere. Everywhere, the customer has to be even in your sprint planning. Like, how do developers and tech leads think about what to prioritize? It's important to bring the customer into a lot of our discourses. It's also all your documents. Imagine all your documents in Google Docs and Notion and everything else that you've seen in SharePoint in the last 20 years. All of that needs to come together. And then we create this tapestry that we'll bring a framework for, but it's going to be your data, and it's going to be your tokens. So it's your tokens, your data, but hopefully our framework that makes this look simple. Now, what else has the market told us? The last 3.5, 4 years, we've learned that it's not just pricing and renewals that are extremely difficult conversations to be had with the old software vendors, but it's also customer service. It's lacking in a big way. I mean, many of them have been acquired by private equity firms. Some of the large corporations act like PE firms as well. I think the implementation is predatorial as well. It's pretty expensive. It's time and material. There's no real outcomes. And the partner ecosystem is messy. Of course, we'll talk about AI's power. The market says, what about AI? Where's the FOMO? There's a lot of FOMO about AI as well. But we should also not forget about the last 10 years of what cloud has achieved as well. Or at least when the large enterprise has raised its hand for the first time in the last couple of years saying, we are ready for the public cloud. And there's some great abstractions that only in the last 5 years have made it possible for us to do many more things than was possible in the past. Like data warehousing. I think it should be tucked in. We can do the job for you. Hosting all your code, arbitrary code. It can sit in these serverless lambdas, and it's all your code. But we can host it. And we can meter it a thousandth of a dime. That was just not possible in the past. So you can pay as little as you use and as much as you really use. So there's a lot of feedback we've gotten. Of course, to be fair to this software of the last 20 years, I mean, for its time, it was well designed. It was great at access with APIs. Was lightweight for its time. But most importantly, it started small. And the market says, look, let's retain all these virtues as we go and think about the next phase of this. If anything, starting small needs to get better. You have to be even more lightweight. In fact, the more lightweight you are, the more agentic your employees' experience, your customers' experience are going to be. So we're going to really take this notion of lightweight to a next level this coming decade. But these are the things it was not good at. These are deep engines, documents, and reasoning, data, structured data, and code. They were not good at hosting a lot of this stuff. They were not good at crawling and indexing and a lot of these things. They punted this problem to you, for you to be able to go and solve this, spending tens of millions of dollars more with your full-time employees and your partners to really go do these things. But they're big opportunities. Of course, it also struggles with conversational stuff. I mean, if anything, in the last 10 years, SaaS has not embraced mobile. It's still an afterthought. We feel like that surface is now moving to overlays like chatbots and what you can actually do in miniaturized forms. So conversations is not natural. And that's why most people have really gravitated to Slack and Teams, because that's where conversations happen. And all the boring stuff happens in business software. Of course, we talked about integrations. They haven't cared much about doing a lot beyond just the knowledge that they keep into knowledge that exists, that's out there, that can be joined with their data and their storage. And last but not least, there's a modern workflow ecosystem out there that can be done, and of course it has new potential to do reasoning and really do it in any programming languages. For full code stuff, why should it be a language that a vendor actually foists in you? It should be anything your developers want to do. So I think these are the things we look at, and I think it's our opportunity. So what are the use cases that we've actually seen in the last 18 months of our selling? The first one is a modern support. And it's not just agents, it's going to be agents and apps. This is going to be not just L1 and L2, but L1, L2 support, plus root cause analysis and incident management, all of L3, L4. Really hard search problem, deduplication problem, understanding what it means to do sophisticated pattern matching, all this stuff that LLMs are good at is a great killer use case for L3 and L4 as well. So we'll make a case for that. We'll make a case for conversational AI, really proving that CX and DX, developers and customers are two sides of the same coin. We don't have to take sides. And we can actually blur the lines between the front office and back office. And finally, search. There were 9 search engines before the 10th one arrived. And that 10th one brought the power of commodity. It was great for all of us, but it was also great for the SMBs. They brought an amazingly good ad network. We know this company, it's Google. But they also brought the power of a framework, the SEO framework, where you can measure things as well. And they brought the power of transparency, of consumption, of pricing. And I feel like the world, the enterprise has not seen the best search yet. So we hopefully can actually prove to you that search is here, and it's not just built for the large enterprise. It's the power of commodity that we bring to the mid-market, to startups. Everybody should have search, not just search of customers and product, but employees and work and users and sessions and everything else as well. So what about the rest of the day? The rest of the day, we're going to make a case that you can leave some boring stuff to machines, and it'll be complementary. You can always have the last mile. Let them do the boring verbs, because there's so many of these things. There's millions of sessions. There's hundreds and thousands of tickets or conversations. There's tens of thousands of tickets. There's thousands of issues and bugs and commits. There's a lot of data, and machines can really help. So we'll make a case for that throughout the course of this day. We'll make a case for this tapestry, the fact that this is key for a lot of what AI needs to be, but it's going to be, it's a hard problem, and we have made it fairly easy. And we've made it easy in many ways on data, and hopefully in the next 3 years, you'll see us make it easy for code as well, because a lot of legacy code that can actually move to the new world through the power of LLMs in the future. We'll make a case that it's not just the knowledge graph, but the power of 3, and how this power of 3 can really make this collaboration special between you and us. And we'll talk a lot about search and analytics and workflows, because these engines are up for a revival. But last but not the least, we'll talk about this tension. We'll celebrate this tension. And it's probably the most important one. We feel like it's not a zero-sum game. It is actually an infinite game of work and life. And in that, I think we have to think really, really hard. Is it all about agents, or is it all about people, and how we can actually bring both of them together? Because by the time software has caught up with our abilities, the goalpost would have moved. The problem statement would have expanded and evolved. And that is the real opportunity to really bring these two together. Because in that sense, it's not about this or that. It's really about this and that. And by the time, as I said, the software would have evolved to really do this, we would have retrained ourselves. We'd have retrained to really say, what's the next set of problems? What are the next set of things that we can now go work on? And if that retraining is something we have seen before, we've got retrained on this device in the last 10 plus years, that we know that we can keep it at the back of our pockets all the time, and yet we can deal with people, we can deal with relationships and everything else around us. So let's make it effortless. Let's make this thing not be the tension that everybody talks about, their jobs or our jobs, but make it our jobs. And thank you again for being here. I look forward to a great day ahead of us. I'm actually 3 minutes ahead of time, but hopefully that's a great thing, right? Thank you again, everyone.
Big hand for D-Raj. Big hand for D-Raj. Let him hear it. And also, living the message, less is better. How about that? So you got to. How many people would love to tell that to their children every time they ask for money? They don't listen. So wonderful, wonderful foundation for a great day. That was our overall keynote. But I want to focus us now to kick us off for our product keynote. Please help us welcome, who's going to lead us through, is the Corporate Vice President of Product and Design, Michael Machado. But first, let's get started with this.
Forever.
Hi, I'm having a problem.
Happy to help. Here are 2 steps you can take to resolve this now.
Awesome, thanks.
And just so you know, a permanent fix should be live in the next 24 hours.
Whoa, is there an issue with the service?
I'm getting tons of errors.
The app just keeps crashing.
Critical issue? Engineering, are you seeing this?
Yep, I'm deploying to fix now.
Got the update, thanks.
It's working now.
Well, that was quick.
Okay, team. Customers want notification preferences.
Devrev Insights confirms this. Guys, hear me out. AI.
Let's prioritize the customer and deliver notification preferences.
Thank you. As you heard from Dheeraj, only Devrev is custom built to usher in the next era of SaaS 2.0, where humans and AI we'll work together. And before I get into how I'm going to partner with CIOs on how to architect that vision, and how we work with product leaders and customer leaders to deliver amazing customer insights, and how we think about how we partner with CCOs on how to bring new customer experiences into your applications directly to your customers, I want to take a moment to reflect. I want to reflect on the past 4 years, as Molly said. It's our 4-year birthday. It's pretty exciting. I love birthdays. I get really excited for my own birthday, so I'm going to celebrate Devrev's birthday like it's my own and reflect a bit on what the 400 employees that are gathered here today have built and the amazing journey we've gone with a lot of you. And so if we were to rewind this back from 2024 to 2022, we could start to think about our first GA product. Some of you in this room were one of our first customers to leverage the 7 lines of code. We called this plug. You plugged it into your application, and with 7 lines of code, you got to directly communicate with your customers. You got a consumer-grade experience for communicating and bringing together your product, your customer teams with your customer. But most importantly, you brought your customer into Devrev, because that's what makes Devrev special. We're not here to build another work management application. We're here to understand how all your data is related, from how your product is related to your work and how your customer consumes that product, so you can actually understand the value of the work you are doing. You can prioritize better, you can make smarter decisions, and we can distribute decision-making down across teams. This 7 lines of code was the sort of the groundbreaking moment for us to deliver on that. And we didn't stop. We thought hard about the platform. We partnered with CIOs to understand what they needed from an enterprise-grade platform: the compliance, the security, and the customization. Customization is so key to the Devrev platform. You get custom attributes and fields, you get custom types, and you get custom objects to run your transactional business process, but most importantly, to continuously enrich the graph. We're always thinking about how do we tie more and more data together within that graph. And that's why we had to make it developer grade at the API layer and the webhooks, but also in our tooling that we call AirDrop, where anyone can get started in minutes with Devrev, where you can migrate millions of records in seconds, be able to connect more and more systems. Hundreds of different application systems can connect to Devrev through AirDrop, bringing structured and unstructured data together. And then we thought about what it meant to be consumer grade. Because how would your teams consume this platform comes down to how we build a consumer grade experience. And it started with our first application for support teams, where we gave support teams the power of an omnichannel inbox, the ability to think about what a conversational first experience would be like for the customers, but an enterprise-grade ticket management system that was modern. So you could drive the SLA requirements you needed to operate your business, but your consumer felt personal. And finally, we didn't stop at L1 and L2 support teams. We thought about L3 and L4. How do we give support engineering the tool that legacy providers just don't give you? How do we bring them right next to engineers? And so we brought incident management in, which brought the connective tissue within our support application and the use case where engineers now worked with support teams. And so as we launched our build app for product and engineering teams, you got product road mapping. You got incident management that would be connected all the way to the customer, and you got sprint management. But again, the customer was here because those 7 lines of code ensured of it. And so every decision you make on our build app has the customer's voice there, guiding you on your priorities, clustering insights, and making your job and your life just a little bit easier in every decision you make. And our final application that we launched last year was our Grow app. Immediately, we saw CIOs reduce the number of licenses that they needed for Salesforce. They consolidated licenses and thought, you know what, now I can actually leverage all of the Salesforce data inside of Devrev. But most importantly, we gave sales teams and customer success teams the ability to actually have a seat at the table with product and engineering teams, where they could speak one language, the language of the product, and understand and communicate how that product actually impacts their customers. But finally, we never stopped with those 7 lines of code. Over the past year, we've continuously delivered, giving CCOs the ability to proactively communicate with their customers through nudges and broadcasts in their app, on their portal, wherever their customer is. We give product teams the ability to understand customer journeys, to go through session replays and session analytics to understand what was the best way they can experience their primary use cases. And finally, we did what no one was really able to do from a CIO perspective. We gave you custom models. So you could actually architect custom embeddings and deploy GenAI-powered experiences for your customers from the ground up. So this is just a few of the ways, and the amazing team at Devrev has essentially ushered in the past 2 years. Let's take a look at how our customers actually are experiencing it. Little sound. Thousands of customers partnering with us from the very beginning to deliver amazing customer experiences for themselves, to change the way they operate, to bring in SaaS 2.0. And so I'm so excited to talk about why we're all here today. We're gathered at Effortless at Levi's Stadium with great investors like Keynote and Mayfield, who have been here since day one with us, with partners like TCS, who's been our first partner to join us in this community, and customers like NVIDIA and Unifor, who have been with us and taken big bets with us from the very beginning. And also a set of prospects. And hopefully one day we'll be introducing you as customers. Because that's what Effortless is all about. How do we bring a community together? How do we learn from each other? And how do we go forward on this idea that we're going to deliver on actionable intelligence? That we're all going to be leveraging what SaaS 2.0 can bring to our organizations, not just in one department, but across an entire company. And it actually reminds me of a moment. I was actually at Levi's Stadium about 9 months ago. I wasn't here for Effortless. I was here for a 49ers game. I believe it was week 16 or 17, and our minds were fully on like a Super Bowl run, so this game meant nothing at all. We were sitting all the starters, and I was with Vish from Velocity Global. Vish from Velocity Global, how you doing, Vish? And he was sitting next to me, and we just kind of got to chatting, because the game was the good game, but again, it was time to think about Kansas City and how we were going to take on Kansas City at the Super Bowl. So Vish asked me this question, and it stuck with me to this very day. He said, what assumptions have you made as a company that you got wrong? It was a powerful question. I don't know if Vish, you remember asking that question, but it stuck with me. And to me, there's thousands of assumptions and hypotheses that you do and you make as a startup to de-risk the company, right? To de-risk the product, the market, the team. But at the same time, you're thinking about how do I move fast in these paradoxes? I move fast, but I got to bring my customers with me. I innovate, but I do so at scale. And in a lot of ways, I think Vish, being a prospect at the time, might have been, some ways trying to de-risk a decision. How does he replace an application he had used for potentially over a decade with a young startup, 3 years under their belt, with lofty, ambitious vision and goals? And today, we're going to talk a lot about how do we de-risk change? How do we de-risk your ability to adopt Devrev, to adopt SaaS 2.0, to find use cases that each one of you can identify by the time you leave here today that can impact your business and your company? And for us, that starts with AgentOS. This is our developer-grade platform for intelligence. Now, this isn't like Agentforce, where we just sort of load on bloated and bloated terms and ask for more money from you. This is really about humanizing AI. And we've humanized AI with one simple way. By taking the idea that our platform will deliver on highly accurate search, hyper-personalized workflows, and lightning-fast analytics. And today, we're going to be talking about how we are announcing a new way to consume AgentOS. This is our conversational AI experience wrapped around the foundations of our platform of search, workflows, and analytics. So without further ado, I'm going to get into the first one, which is search. Because search is paramount to any AI system working well for your organization. And what we've done with search is built custom vector databases, giving you the ability to have semantic understanding of all of your data within Devrev, giving your users the ability to accurately traverse the knowledge graph and understand how everything is related. And so as we launch the conversational experience on top of AgentOS, we're launching conversational search. This is powerful. This is something we've been building with our customers over the past 9 months. And it's the idea that we're going to give a conversational experience, a GPT-like experience to all of your internal data. And for support teams, we started with how do we bring internal Confluence data, external knowledge article data? How do we bring CPO data like all the conversations in Slack, all the information that's sort of trapped in silos? How do we help CIOs connect ERP systems and CRM systems into one platform and give you enterprise-grade search a part of that? And that's where we started, and we've found that we have the most accurate knowledge retrieval system out there in the market right now, because only Devrev thinks about how conversationally you can interact with your data, not just on unstructured data, but also on the structured data you have. And how we can relate the information between all this information, whether you're using Devrev or you embed us in another application. Devrev's APIs and developer-grade platform enables that for you. And every answer we give you within our enterprise search feature is source and cited, so you can trust it. So you can understand if we fetched information from the wide web, or if we've actually delivered this through your own information graph. And it's trusted. Because I know every CIO in the room is thinking, how am I going to integrate hundreds of different data sources, giving delightful user experiences to my teams, but in a trusted manner, secure and compliant? And we actually integrate across your permissions with these source information. We have a robust authorization policy within Devrev, and we're able to bring those permissions from source applications into Devrev and give you a new way for you to deploy conversational experiences across all your data. So no longer will your teams be losing countless hours every week leveraging the source information, but actually get it at their fingertips within our mobile app, within our desktop app, and as embeddable as an API. So without further ado, I'm going to pull out my mobile phone and actually show you this live in Devrev. All right. So if you don't mind, I'm going to switch over. Give them 1 second over there. They're at hard work. Got my mobile phone out, and I'm going to show you the new mobile experience in Devrev. This is a mobile experience that allows, that we're going to be launching in about 3 to 6 months, that enables everyone to get a view into what we believe we've designed from a SaaS 2.0 experience. And a SaaS 2.0 experience means that you've actually got the ability to have information served to you, that you would have an application that works for you. And so as I open up the new Devrev mobile app, you'll see I got my feed. This isn't a feed that looks backwards in time. It's a feed that looks forward. It recommends what my day should look like. Of course, it brings in my calendar and what my schedule looks like. But it's also telling me about information happening across my org that might be more important than what I have scheduled. I understand my tasks for the day that look forward to in my focus time, but everything is right here, working for me, promoting what I do next. And this bar at the bottom, this is the simplest navigation bar you'll see in any enterprise application. Home, and then right here to the right, my inbox. Now for a support team, this might be conversations with customers, but for me as a product manager, I'm constantly thinking about how do I communicate to my entire team? How do I make sure I'm widely available to them? And so we wanted to tackle the hard problems of collaboration and bringing AI right into the fold, because we didn't want to build just another communication experience with direct messaging and group messaging, which we have, where we could communicate on the record and off the record in a seamless way. We wanted to solve the problems of communication and collaboration in the enterprise. And I'll show you that by the first message here. This is an actual message Kevin sent me. And you'll see Kevin asked me, do we have an iOS SDK for React Native? Now, I was in focus time. And so what this search agent did is it pulled with high accuracy an answer to this question and I gave it the permission to essentially send an answer to Kevin. It describes the iOS SDK, its current availability, and it gives a link because it understands what actually that means from a part perspective in Devrev, what feature he's asking about, and shares a little bit more information about an enhancement that's coming that would further enrich his understanding of not only do we support it, but what are we doing to make it even better. Right there, in my focus time, never distracted by a DM, you can see it actually minimized my notification for me. And with a thumbs up from Kevin, it confirmed that Kevin got his answer and didn't need to distract me like we've seen in so many different collaboration experiences in the past. Now next I'm going to show you actually on-record communication in Devrev. And India has done what we've all had happen to us in the past. He CC'd me on a message. Now this could have a million comments on it, conversations going back weeks, but you'll see what the search agent did here. It wasn't able to answer the question for an India. It needed my human guidance. But it was able to do what I would naturally do, which is scroll up, start reading, not sure when the conversation started and stopped between 2 weeks ago and today, and give me a summary. Looks like in this case, the team is exploring a new beta that's going out, and I have a customer that wants to join it. Now, I have to make a judgment call. Do I want to let the customer into the beta or not? And now what I can do is actually ask a question here. Search agent, tell me more about Alpine Vogue, the customer. And now as a private message, it's going to go fetch information across the knowledge graph. It's going to understand which region they're in, all the account information available to it, and feed that information to me. Now, I know what this beta is about. It's a much more lightweight conversational B2C experience. And I see this customer is in the right region, right industry, is looking for a chat-first experience. And so, sounds good. Please approve. And just like that, I didn't have to traverse across Salesforce and other applications to get all this information into one system. I'm able to get my job done in context, extremely fast, and keep teams unblocked throughout their processes. And finally, I'm going to show you the one last amazing feature. As I go into back to the homepage, I'll see there's a notification. Now, Devrev brings all of your data, and you're going to see a ton about data and insights today as we go along with this presentation. But I've been triggered on a notification here. It looks like in the past week, there's an 83% increase in the sync volume. This is coming from our airdrop feature, the feature I talked about as one of the most foundational parts of our developer-grade platform. But an 83% increase is pretty interesting. And so right here in the bottom of the navigation, I'm going to engage with our search agent. And it contextually understood where I was, that I was in the homepage, understanding a data point, and it's brought that in as a suggestion. So I'm going to ask it to tell me a little bit more about the data spike in the past week. And fingers crossed, it comes back, understanding this is about one particular customer, a customer that's contributed a bit more of a out-of-band records in the past week. Now, there's a couple things I can do here. I can dig deeper into the data. I can understand the impact that's going on here, but I can also understand the customer. So in this case, I'm going to explore what's going on with Atlas Corp. I'm going to tell me what's going on, not just about the account, though. I need to have more and more information available to me to make a decision. And so as I zoom down here, I'm going to look at this. It's told me about where this customer is, what phase they are in adopting Devrev, information about the opportunity, the needs, the next steps. And just right here, I can tell that it's a POC. This is exactly how we start most POCs. We meet with the customer, we understand their needs, we bring the data into Devrev, and we start to show the power of the platform, the power of search, the power of our ability to give you workflows and analytics. So just like that, I went from how I can communicate with my team, how AI works on my behalf while I'm working, while I'm focus mode, and while I'm engaging in the days and tasks I have in front of me. So this is just one experience. And it's so important that we're able to deliver this across every experience of Devrev's mobile, desktop, and across the channels that you have. And so what I'd like to do is invite up our head of engineering, Ahmed Bashir, who's going to introduce to you more ways at which Devrev's bringing conversational intelligence to your core experience of Devrev.
Conversational search, what do you think? A truly modern enterprise search experience. A new way to discover, even on the go. And these beautiful design elements you see here behind me, these are the hallmarks of conversational AI. These are the hallmarks of SaaS 2.0. They encourage discourse over ideas, discovery. They bring CIO, CPO, CCO together. And you'll find these all across Devrev. In the mobile experience, as Michael just showed you, but also on the desktop. You'll find them in the side panel, in the main views, and of course, in the navigation panel. Right there, when you need help, it's there to help you. And like Michael mentioned, actionable intelligence connects back to your workflows so you can leverage real applications that work for you and your teams in customer support, product development, project management, and of course, customer experience, which really binds the entire company together. And there's one such flow that we're really proud of. And we're going to talk about it today. And we call it Conversational Incident Management. Here's what Paul has to say about it. Paul from Action IQ, shout out to Paul. And before I walk you through conversational incident management, I'm going to ask the CTO of Typeface, Abe Paranis, to join me on stage. Abe. CEO. Oh, CEO, what did I say? Yeah, you'll need a mic. Hey, how's it going? Good to see you. All right, so we'll get you a mic? Yeah. There's the mic runner. Awesome. So Abe, first of all, thank you for joining us. Maybe you could say a few words about the innovation happening at Typeface right now?
Sure, happy to be here. Hi, everyone. First of all, congrats to Devrev team, Dheeraj, Manoj, and everyone. I think it's great to see, as somebody who has watched Devrev journey from day one or maybe day -1, talking to Dheeraj when they were starting. It's always great to see. Building companies and business is hard, so it's great to see the progress on product, but especially customers. So great, congrats on 4-year anniversary and all the progress. Happy to be here. Typeface, we are actually a company that started slightly 1 year, almost a year later than Devrev. We focus on the other side of this equation, which is helping some of the biggest B2C and B2B companies completely reimagine their marketing and content workflows in how they personalize and deliver the entire content, from how they create content, personalize it, deliver it across various channels. And as I was listening to Dheeraj, can't help but notice a lot of the conceptual similarity and vision around bringing your content graph together. We think about content graph the way he was talking about knowledge graph, but really enabling using an AI-powered platform in how we deliver that seamlessly across web, email, social, and all the customer touch points that a typical company has.
Fantastic. And just real quick, what compelled you and Typeface to adopt Devrev and embrace change?
Yeah, I mean, I'll keep it brief, obviously, and I think Dheeraj, not surprisingly, did a great job articulating reality. Probably for a lot of folks in this room, certainly was our reality. When we started, within no time, to my surprise, and I was CTO at Adobe for many years before that, but to my surprise, we ended up with a SaaS mess of island of SaaS applications within no time. Even before we had built a business, we had like hundreds of SaaS applications. And every team justified why that was the most critical application. And one of our issues was we started with what we thought was best of breed for each one. We had Slack for internal thing, we had Jira for something, we had Salesforce, we had HubSpot, we had like so many apps. And one of the things as a team we were saying, if we are all about reimagining our customers' experience, when they talk to us, are we equipped to actually deliver that best-in-class, new, modern, AI-powered experience? When they come to our website or application, can they find any information? Do we have a knowledge management system that's modern? And I remember Manoj and Dheeraj came to our office early on, And so the shard thing for us was a threefold reason we switched. By the way, we still use all those applications. So that's the unfortunate reality where you're not going to be able to get rid of all these things overnight, but it's how you bring them together. So for us, it was very simple. One, can we step up and deliver a customer experience when customers come to our website? And these are some of the biggest enterprise clients where the experience feels modern and fluid, not just relative to our product experience, but all their support interactions have to feel like that. So that was the big one. Second, how our team operates. Can the customer success, sales, and product team, can they move with the speed and velocity that we need to move? And that just wasn't happening before. And so I think for us, really, the biggest thing is how easy it was for us to integrate Devrev, starting with, you talked about the 7 lines of code. I'm sure it was a little bit more than 7 lines for us, but it was very simple to get the widget integrated. The team was very responsive. But last but not the least for me, especially in a space moving this fast, how quickly is the team going to adapt? And the partner we bet on. So for me, really, as much as it's about Devrev product of today, is what Devrev needs to become and will become tomorrow and the day after as we evolve. The partner we choose has to be on the cutting edge, and they have to continue to move fast. And so for me, betting on, obviously, Dheeraj, Manoj, and the rest of the team, I knew that we are not going to be stuck with a solution that seemed right on 2022 when we started. But when you come to 2024, it's like already legacy and date. And so I think something that's going to continue to evolve was pretty important.
Outstanding. So let's get into it. Conversational incident management. Now, obviously, workflows, by design, they work behind the scenes on our behalf. But to really sort of appreciate what it is that's happening, we're going to try to manifest that inside the system of record. And we're going to try to show you behind the scenes what's happening so we can really understand it better here. And of course, many of you know this, but Devrev offers a beautiful Trails view. And in that Trails view, you can really get in and explore the product, features, and capabilities, and also the services that power them. But you're not always in that experience. And for this specific walkthrough, what we're going to do is we're going to start with a notification. So here we've got a notification, and it looks like we've got an issue with our data sync engine, right? So this data sync engine critical alert shows up. Now let's go deeper into this and see what we expect. So it's exactly what you would expect from Devrev. It's a beautiful, immersive panel view, which gives you all the information that you need. And so what I'm going to do is we'll get back to what it shows in the panels and so on. But what I want to do first is go see what's going on with those alerts. Let's go have a look at those alerts. So folks, you got to understand what's going on over here. What's happening is that these alerts, in real time, intelligently, are being semantically clustered. And this semantic clustering is giving way to a powerful concept. It's the ability to upgrade that information and understand that there's truly an incident ongoing at this moment in time. So we have done that clustering here, and we have created this incident. But it gets better. This incident is not just an incident object with the rich information from the alerts, but we go further thanks to the combination of workflows and the beautiful abstractions that we have within the complete knowledge graph within Devrev, but also our advanced vector search. We're able to communicate the relationship between this incident and similar incidents in the past, but also ongoing sessions and related tickets. So this is truly a powerful 360 view of what's going on at this exact moment in time. Very, very, very important. Saves you a tremendous amount of time and really helps you de-risk the situation at hand. Abe, anything here that seems interesting?
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny, I was literally in an incident review meeting once a week last night. One of the issues we are struggling with is just the amount of alerts you get in the system. They're all important, but how do you actually have a system help you what to focus on first, where to actually prioritize your energy? And then equally importantly, the customer success teams are not in all the details. But can you actually give enough information for them to be able to communicate while you're working? So very, absolutely relevant. I have to say, I don't think we have access to this yet. So I clearly need to get somebody, maybe once showing up here might get me access to this.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll step forward, but I'll say this for all the engineering leaders, support leaders in the room, I'm sure your teams have set up static thresholds. What we're seeing here goes way, way, way beyond this. This is not simply about setting titles and descriptions, setting up start times and so on. This really goes down to the depths of deeply understanding exactly what's going on. This is how you save time. Now let's get back to the experience in the panel view. Now, for anybody who's dealt with an incident, I think we can all agree that the primary motive is unequivocally this: to get the customer back to a known good state. And we're going to do exactly that. You can see that we have gone straight into the discussion. We've gone in and found the immediate actions that have been taken already. We can suggest some next steps and also understand how to pull the right people in. For everybody in the room who's actually experienced incidents, you know how expensive and how disruptive it can be to get the right people in the room. This is where we lose time. Here, we're not losing any time. Because we deeply understand the system of record and the relationships between work and people, we're able to do that and draw from the information that we already have in Devrev, a very powerful incident management experience. What's more, we're able to connect back and get the relevant logs from systems like Datadog. We're also able to get the relevant commits from systems like GitHub. These are powerful systems that we integrate with from day one, and we've got many more integrations of that type. And there's more. We're also going to show you, obviously, the relationship with incidents that have happened in the past, so you can learn from playbooks and actions taken in previous occurrences. But it gets better. Obviously, you want to be able to go in and get right into the action. But you can do that not just in the Devrev app, but also in Slack if you wish. This is a live, omni-channel bridge. It lets you get into the action no matter where you are. And you can see that we're bringing a lot of semantic and deep understanding to the integration here. We've got Dennis here. Obviously, you can see Dennis deeply involved in trying to get to some resolution. And you can see that the responses that are coming back from the on-call agent, these are deeply rooted, right? These are backed by cited reference documentation, deep context from the system of record, right? And also extensible skills. This is where the power comes in. This is what brings the power of SaaS 2.0 to an experience like this. But it gets better. Because this is Devrev, obviously, we're also helping your L1 and L2. So in this particular case, we've got a customer support agent that's on their mobile, and they're getting a notification. There's a ticket. And this ticket, you can see with one click, the agent can go and deeply understand the details, but also understand that this may be, and likely is, related to the ongoing incident. This is incredible information to have in the palm of your hands, and it gets better from there because the agent is actually suggesting a template to respond to the customer ticket and make progress right there. It can't get any simpler. For all the support leaders here, this is what your SaaS 2.0 customer support experience looks like. We are, I would say, the only company that's offering a way to truly bring your L1 and L2 together with your L3 and L4 engineering staff. Okay, let's see. Let's get back to the incident, obviously. We're going to get back to the incident. What you're going to find is the communication with the customer is going to get handled. But what's more, there's a great deal of automation that's happening here. You can see that we're going to actually take root cause analysis, post-incident action items, and we're going to bring them all right there in this discussion without having to step away. What's really valuable about this is, and from our research, we find that 78% of the damage done by incidents is really the cleanup after the incidents. It's the developer productivity. And here, I hope what you see is that we're giving your team time back to focus on the customer deliverables. So, Abhay, anything you want to add on this front?
No, I think it's pretty exciting. I mean, I think you touched on this, and maybe just to connect to what I think we all heard from Dheeraj this morning, I think for me, what's unique about Devrev even today, but certainly as you're pushing further in these capabilities, is if the world was completely greenfield, everything brand new, that would be a lot simpler. So being able to coexist with all the existing applications and existing processes, number one, but then being able to surface this information, I think to me, the human plus agent thing that I think Dheeraj was talking about is very much a reality for us, which is even as these AI models get powerful, they get sophisticated, you still need that capability to surface the right information to the right user at the right touch point. And so I think, by the way, the Slack piece, at least from, as I know, our team, the engineering team actually loves the Devrev backend portions of it, but the customer success team still absolutely loves the fact that the same thing flows through because they already have Slack channels with the customers and they already have everything set up there. So I think that human plus AI agent workflow is definitely the right unlock. And I think it's exciting. It's exciting to see where you guys are pushing this.
Awesome. So, well, I'm excited that you're excited. So that's conversational incident management, real-time triage, expert coordination for fast, targeted resolution, and of course, enriched actions to close the loop, cutting down the risk and the possibilities and the cost of recurrence. Thank you, Abe.
Thanks, Ahmed. Great. Have a great day, everyone.
Outstanding. So let's shift gears, shall we? I want to talk about how we help you answer your most important questions. Today, we're going to announce the most comprehensive conversational experience for CX leaders. Here's what our customers have to say. Vinod from Unifor. And for this portion, what I'd like to do is introduce another friend. And we're going to have NVIDIA's VP of AI Nations join me here. Please welcome Shilpa Kolhatkar. Shilpa, thanks for joining us.
Pleasure to be here.
So tell us a little bit about your role at NVIDIA.
Certainly. I am with NVIDIA's global public sector team, and within that, I drive an initiative called AI Nations. So some people asked me earlier when I was speaking to them, what is AI Nations? We've all heard of smart cities, and then that became smart. That is what a smart nations has evolved into, but we're not stopping there. It is now taking it to the next level, AI Nations. And so it's a lot about working closely with governments, but also with the industry and academia to help advance the national strategies around the globe.
Fantastic. And obviously, we've got Nate here in the crowd as well. So can you tell us a little bit about what drove NVIDIA to choose Devrev?
Yeah, look, ultimately, and I've been listening to the fabulous presentations here and the product presentations as well. Ultimately, in the context of innovation and of productivity, these tools are the ones which are bringing about that productivity gains, etc. And when you look at the goals that all nations are trying to achieve, it is about tying it to outcomes of economic growth, about global competitiveness, right? So that is also applicable to industries as well. Any industries looking to increase that productivity, efficiency. And hence for us, we've really focused on democratization of AI for our ecosystem, so that our ecosystem can adopt the tools faster, more in an easier way. Mm-hmm. And tools such as these are actually what's going to be that game changer in order to bring about that ease of use, to bring about that faster time to value. So really excited about starting on this journey with you.
Sounds good. Game changer. I like it. Okay, let's have a look. So once again, what we're going to do is we're going to start with a notification. Now, I want to be clear here. We're talking about notifications, but these are proactive insights. So these are not just your usual notifications. So I want to make sure we appreciate that. And again, you can see that in this notification, just a simple tap on Review Customer Health, and I'm straight in to the dashboard experience. And we're going to talk a little bit about this dashboard in a bit. But first, what I want to do is I want to focus on this bottom left here. Look at this bottom left panel. This is the lifeblood of conversational insights. Without any action, you can see, without any prompt, I am getting key insights. It's a carousel of key insights. This is what makes conversational CX so remarkable. It's that important staff member that's deeply familiar with your tool sets and your domain, entirely prepared with the right set of information. Now, in a more conventional scenario, I might actually go and get drawn into the dashboard, which, by the way, is very powerful on its own right and has all the right click-through detail for me to get the job done and navigate on my own. But here in this particular case, I see that Maple is at risk, so I'm going to go in and get back to the conversation. But just to take a moment so we understand really what's being shown here, because it's quite important. So you see satisfaction and you see SLA responsiveness. This is drawing from our tickets and our customer conversations details from the system of record. That makes a lot of sense, but there's more. You see sentiment. which is actually building off of large language models and instrumenting measurable data that we're unlocking here. That's really exciting. But it goes further. You see integrations thanks to our airdrop technology, which are taking important metrics, bringing them into our product, and straight onto the dashboard. And there's even more. You see product usage here. That's using our Devrev native event tracking. Normally, as I'm sure many of you know, this actually requires very expensive third-party integrations to get right. And even then, you can't get it right. So there's a lot being shown on this dashboard to truly appreciate. But let's get back to what's going on with Maple, our customer. So I'm going to go over here and see what's going on. And let's find out what's happening. First things first, you can see that this conversation expands, literally. And the navigation panel pulls back to make space for this discussion. Let's see what's happening. Well, obviously the health's dropped, right? But it's because of declining product usage. And it looks like we've missed a few SLAs. If I want, I've got a one-click experience here to go and see the impacted tickets. But I'm actually going to go further. I want to get a little more information. For all the leaders in this room, you're probably saying, let's get the 5 whys. Let's get down to the details. Well, we've got the details right here. If I want a resource, a name to go reach out to, I've got Alex Harris. And there's one more golden nugget here. It doesn't look like Maple's using Agent Copilot, which is a very attractive feature that we've recently launched. I need to go figure out what's going on there. And I'm actually going to branch off from here. I'm actually going to branch off and ask one more question. I want to know, and this is what curiosity leads to, I want to know where and which other customers have had this pattern of behavior. And there's my answer. I've got my answer right there. Folks, in my books, this is a real conversation, right? What do you think so far?
Well, converting data into intelligence, that's what's happening here. And great to see this live in action. So in fact, this looks a lot like an AI factory, isn't it? So this platform is going to ingest a lot of data, and as per the initial presentations where I talked about automating the workflows and tying the search and analytics and workflows together, it's really about manufacturing intelligence. I'm super excited about this. It really ties in well to our concept of the new generation of factories is the AI factories, where the raw material is data and what comes out is tokens or intelligence.
I love it. Outstanding. So, and by the way, this is powerful, but what I'll say is what truly makes it powerful is that it's backed by the same powerful data set that our dashboards are powered by. And I'll say one more thing. Thanks to our access controls and our multi-factor authorization, thanks to our local in-process SQL database technology, we can take this capability and give it to all the people in your team. And that really allows for CX to be a real priority. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So there you have it. That's conversational CX. Generate reports instantaneously. Discuss what matters most, the customer, and 100% data coverage. 100% data coverage means integrating with the most important tools and your team. CIOs, CPOs, CCOs, this is how your teams come together. Now, we've got a pretty diverse group here, right? Leaders from support, product, engineering, founders. Am I right? What I hope you've seen so far in this session is what humanized AI looks like, what it can do, what it feels like. We have concentrated on sort of capturing, in this session, these moments of delight. These moments where the product strikes up a conversation, facilitates action, cuts through ambiguity, and only Devrev can combine this sophisticated reasoning with the most complete knowledge graph and your most critical integrations, and brings them to all your conversational surfaces. We think this, collectively, these moments of delight will serve as the foundation for how you and your teams experience SaaS 2.0 and embrace change. Now, I'd like to introduce Michael back on stage to sum up today's announcements. Thank you. All right. There you go.
Thank you. Can I hang out? This is amazing. Design and AI have to come together. As we look forward to the future, I don't think we can think about how AI can be separated from design. This is why you can't bolt on to legacy providers and expect anything to be different. We've seen from micro moments within a mobile experience how you can change the way you get work done, how you can collaborate across teams in the most efficient way possible, and how you can hopefully do more, but at the same time do less but better. We saw how workflows are going to be transformed, how incident management, one of the ways that developers lose the highest productivity, your highest cost as an organization to incidents is developer productivity, and we're solving that problem for you today. And then finally, how analytics. How do we all share in the customer insights required to deliver unique insights across our organization? These micro moments of design are how we make that happen and how we'll continue to deliver on that in the SaaS 2.0 era. So embeddable search, don't forget this is something you can take with you to your organizations. We deliver it as an API across any channel. We deliver it as an SDK so you can embed it in core experiences. And for every Devrev user, it comes out of the box in our mobile and desktop experience this year. Every workflow between your support and your engineering teams are going to be transformed in this 2.0 era. We showed you conversational incident management, but you can apply that same logic and the same custom agent experiences this year. Just automate and transform every workflow within your organization. And finally, we're bringing you the power of conversational customer experiences and conversational analytics. All this comes together this year as a huge announcement as we take an Agent OS and truly made it conversational. So I hope everyone is going to have an amazing conference. We're just getting started. You're in the first hour, and I can't thank you all for attending this, hearing us out from the Devrev product organization. But don't forget, you've got industry leaders that are going to be talking about how they de-risk change within their organizations. You've got customers who are going to be sharing their stories about Devrev. You've got partners who are going to be talking about how they can guide you in de-risking change. And so we're all here to welcome in sort of the SaaS 2.0 era. And I just want to thank everyone for your time and commitment to listening to us. I'm excited to work with you going forward.
How about a hand for Michael and Ahmed and Abe and Shubha? Give them a big hand. Great stuff. Let me feel some energy. Who's excited about all that? Who's excited about that voice interaction to get support while you're chatting? Who's ready to do that while you're driving? Please don't do that, okay? And who's ready about that conversational CX? Is that exciting? How about this side of the room? Is that exciting? How about over here? Is that exciting? Who could use that kind of management for their family? Who wants to manage all the kids? Who's got kids away at college, by the way? Anybody have kids away at college right now? Where are the people paying $100,000 a year like me right now to send your kid to study psychology? Anybody else? It's right here. It all comes together. I have one kid studying for $100,000 at NYU in New York City. I'm excited. Now, my other daughter is interested in ornithology. Who knows what that is? That's the study of O.J. Simpson. Okay, I'll let you process that one. Stay with me. All right, folks, from this point, we want to now talk about co-intelligence, and that's the interaction between humans and AI. And we have a very, very special guest, and let me give you a little background and introduction. So Ethan Mollick is the Ralph J. Roberts Faculty Scholar at Wharton. He researches AI's impact on work, entrepreneurship, and education. And listen to this. He was named one of Time Magazine's most influential people in AI. He co-directs Wharton's Generative AI Labs and authored the book Co-Intelligence. He's got so much going on that he can't be with us live today, but he's here with us virtually. So put your hands together and help us welcome Professor Ethan Mollick.
Thank you, guys. I can't hear if there's applause, so I'm just going to assume it's happening. I am really glad to be here with all of you. I have 30 minutes, and I want to talk about AI and the future of everything for a few minutes. That was an amazing introduction, incredibly high energy, so I feel a little bad doing this, but I'm going to reintroduce myself. So here's me one more time. This is a completely fake video of me. The AI used 30 seconds of me talking to a webcam and 30 seconds of my voice. And now I have an avatar that I can make say anything. Don't trust your own eyes. Questo è un mio video completamente falso. L'intelligenza artificiale ha utilizzato 30 ये मेरा पूरी तरह से फर्जी वीडियो है. AI ने वेबकैम पर मेरी बातचीत के 30 सेकंड और मेरी आवाज के 30 सेकंड का उपयोग किया. So, as someone who got a C in high school and college Spanish, this is very gratifying. I don't speak any of these languages. And it's obviously not the major point of this presentation, but you can't trust anything you see again. We're now down to like 5 seconds of video and audio to do stuff I could do on my home computer, fascinating times. But let's just talk AI for a little bit. So baseline, things to remember about AI is the first is that it's undetectable. So AI use is becoming ubiquitous. 70% of undergraduates and 70% of high school students are using AI in school, and AI detectors don't work. So I just heard the host talking about how his kids are in school. My kids also in school are getting, told that AI detectors will tell if they're cheating or not. Those don't work. They have high false positive rates. They don't really work. But from a bigger sense, that means that since 2022, we will never be able to separate how much content is AI content to human content. So whether you're looking at sets of documents or doing discovery, no matter what use case you have, our world's AI contaminated, and then we're not going to go back from that. The second thing about the current state of AI that's, I think, really hard for a lot of people to think about, because we're used to the latest and greatest technologies flowing to companies with really good IT departments, lots of money, Goldman Sachs and the NSA get early access to things. That's not true for AI. GPT-4o or Claude 3.5 Sonnet, the best models out there right now, are ubiquitously available to people in 169 countries around the world. So every kid in Mozambique has access to as good an AI system as anybody else does anywhere in the world, and actually better than you get at Goldman Sachs and NSA, because they're both banned from using AI systems at work. So they all, of course, just use their phones for stuff. I actually spoke to a woman who wrote the policy banning ChatGPT use in a major bank, and she used ChatGPT to do it. So people are using it, just in a different way. We'll talk more about that. And then finally, transformative. So I talk like once a week to Anthropic, to Google, to OpenAI, talk to all the consulting companies in the space. And one of the fascinating things we learn is that nobody really knows anything about what's happening. Like the AI companies that are releasing things don't really know what the best use cases. It's why listening, I got to hear some of the Devrev launch that just happened. It was really interesting because that's an example of taking these generalized applications and putting them to a specific use that's useful to customers. We all have to go through the discovery process, because at this point, nobody has answers about the best way to use these systems, the best way to prompt them, what they know in your field. And we're dealing with a really unusual and changed world, because starting 20 months ago, things got really weird. These are actually the test scores for GPT 3.5, the free version of ChatGPT that came out in about 23 months ago. And when I say it got 65% on the jury qualitative, I don't mean that it got 65% right on the test you need to get a PhD program at MIT or Harvard or Penn. I mean that it beat 65% of human test takers taking the test. And then GPT-4 came along and smashed every other number that we could put at it. And now there are 5 frontier AI models that all score somewhere between the 90th and 100th percentile on almost any test. By the way, I just gave a picture of a chart to Claude, and it turned it into a graph for me. So always helpful to get some advice. Now, I know what you're thinking. Ethan, you're an academic. We heard your credentials, and it's great to be like head in the clouds academia. But what about the real world? So in my defense, I am a former entrepreneur and a business school professor, so I think a lot about real-world implications, and we've been doing a lot of experiments on exactly what the real-world implications of AI are. So one of those experiments is we went out to the to Boston Consulting Group, the elite consulting company, and we did an experiment. They gave us 8% of the global workforce, and we took 18 realistic business consulting tasks they actually use for internal promotions. And what we did was we let some people use ChatGPT, plain vanilla ChatGPT, no special features, no RAG, nothing else, and half got nothing. The people who got access to ChatGPT 4 had an immediate 40% improvement in the quality of their work, 26% faster, 12.5% more work done. And by the way, these numbers are not unusual in this case. My colleagues at Wharton just finished a big study looking at the original GitHub Copilot. That was the ChatGPT 3.5 powered version of Copilot, much weaker than the ones available today. And they found in the real world a 25% improvement in the speed of programmers using it. To put this stuff into context, by the way, when steam power was put into a factory in the early 1800s, it improved performance by 18 to 22%. So these are like historical numbers, right? And we don't even know what to do with them right now. And then we found another thing that's now become a very common finding, which is the lowest performers got the biggest boost. Now, everyone at BCG is pretty smart, but if you were in the bottom half of the skill distribution at BCG, you got a 43% improvement in performance. In the top half, you got a 17%. This is being found over and over again, but there's actually kind of a dirty secret here. We measure something called retainment, which is how much of the AI's answer you ultimately turned in as your own answer. And we found a really strong relationship. For most consultants, 80% of them, the only way for them to screw up was for them to add any of their own thoughts or ideas into the results. As long as they just turned it in, they were fine. Their own thinking just made it worse. So it was actually operating at the level of the 8th percentile of consultants out of the box. And we're not just finding this in consulting, we're finding this across all kinds of other fields. On the left are some nice distributions of scores. In blue are law students at the University of Minnesota, apologize. As an upper Midwest person myself, you should never mix those two up. The University of Michigan, who were not allowed to use AI. That's the blue distribution. It's a pretty normal distribution curve bunched up against the side. The orange are people who are allowed to use AI. Once you had AI access, there were no longer any bad lawyers. Everybody was at least good. Similarly, on the right, that's data from Amy, which is a Gemini derivative from Google. For medicine, the yellow dotted line are doctors using Amy to make diagnoses who are more accurate than the green line, doctors using Google. The blue is doctors not using Google, doctors should at least Google. Because they're writing this for the medical professionals, they've kind of underemphasized the red line, which is actually doctors getting no external help whatsoever. Turns out to beat all of the other categories. And on top of all of this, like it turns out that AI does things you would expect, like creativity. So on the left, you could see idea generation contests between ChatGPT and humans. And what you could see is GPT-4 beats almost all humans in terms of creativity. We're finding this in study after study. All creativity measures are flawed, but on the right, there's a study that actually tries to turn this into an economic impact. So it looks at this famous class at Wharton run by Carl Ulrich and Christian Turwich, where they literally wrote the book on product development, and maybe some of you have read it, but they have a class where people generate startup ideas. They had these students generate 200 ideas using all the techniques that we know about generating good ideas. They had GPT-4 generate 200 ideas, and then outside judges judged them by willingness to pay. Out of the top 40 ideas, 35 came from the AI, only 5 from the humans in the room. So already beating most people in this stuff. And then you can start to do really weird stuff once you have AI access. For example, I asked it to massage the data for me, and here's what I got. Very useful. I don't know if all your graphs should do this, but I would suggest that Devrev think about that approach. And then on top of all this, we're starting to get even weirder implications. So Sam Altman, who's a real prophet of AI problems, if not always their solutions, made the prediction that AI would be capable of superhuman persuasion before superhuman intelligence. That turns out to be right. If you survey, if you ask people to debate either the AI or an average human, they're 81.7% more likely to change their view to the AI's view of the average human. And the only thing we've ever seen that robustly lowers belief in conspiracy theories over the course of 3 months is to get into debate with the AI. Just a debate. 3 months later, people believe less in conspiracy theories. Now, on one hand, that's awesome. Conspiracy theories are bad. We don't like them. On the other, we're changing people's deeply held beliefs with just a short interaction. And that is a little bit freaky that we can do that out of the gate. And then we have this idea of, who gets impacted by AI. There's now a whole bunch of research that looks at this, and they all find the same thing, which is the more highly paid you are, the more educated you are, the more creative your job is, the more it overlaps with AI. And it's very much aimed at everybody in the room, at our kids, at me, and really at me. Out of the 1,016 jobs on the list, business school professor was number 22. So I think about this a lot. Now, on one hand, I'd rather give more talks like this, even though I'm sad I can't be there with you, but and not do as much grading. So giving up part of my job is okay, but it is a very profound change. By the way, the 4 least affected jobs, just in case you're interested: professional dancer, professional athlete, and I can't see the crowd, but I assume most of you still qualify. And then professional roofer and ditch digging. Although I actually have an Amish roofer, and he's using AI to send out proposals. So we've lost the Amish already, so maybe just ditch digging at this point. Okay. So it's more fun to show stuff than just talk about it. But let's just talk a little bit about one last chart, which is the sort of state of frontier models. So it's really important in AI to pay attention to the nature of models because there's something called the scaling law in AI. It's not really a scaling law, it's more of an observation. But the scaling law says that the larger your model is, the better it is at everything. And right now, my favorite example of that is Bloomberg spent, the financial services company, a financial data company, spent about $10 million training Bloomberg GPT, a customized AI designed to do really good stock market sentiment analysis. And it was actually quite good at that, except that out of the box, GPT-4 beats it at sentiment analysis, even though it wasn't trained to do that kind of analysis. And that's because GPT-4 is a 100 times larger model, and size alone gets you somewhere. So right now, we're in a state where there are 5 frontier models out there, GPT-4o, 01, which we could talk about a little bit more, Gemini 1.5, Anthropic's Claude, and then the weird cases of Meta's Llama 3.1, which is an open model, and Grok 2, Elon Musk's company, which is scaling remarkably quickly and has become a competitive model out of nowhere. So like, it's great to talk about all of this stuff. Let's do a few things because I think that's more interesting. So I'm going to pull up ChatGPT here, and let's just go through typical kind of businessy use case. I'm going to make the text a little larger here. You can see it's a live demo when you're clicking as we go. And so let's take a typical example for my students. Let's say I am a former SaaS B2B software engineer getting my MBA at Wharton. Subtle ad. Give me 10 business ideas. All right, let's see how we do. Okay, so we're going to get 10 different business ideas. Great. Yeah, powered customer success platform, wonderful. And they're going to be pretty good ideas. I mean, I teach this for a living, and these are pretty good. I would normally ask, but I can't hear you, how many, if any of you want to suggest any of these ideas as a model, but I unfortunately can't hear any of you. So I'm going to pick one here. I'm going to go with, let's go with 6. So why do people come to business school like Wharton? So I can answer the question, how do I do 6? And it's going to tell me. Now, it's not going to tell you as well as it would if you went to Wharton and paid 6 figures. Please continue to send your children to Wharton and pay 6 figures and hire people from Wharton. But it's pretty good. And the thing is, it's fractal, right? Like, this is actual advice, but I can say things like, you said to do market research, write an email from me to a potential customer asking for an interview, right? Something I teach people to do. And you get a pretty good message right out of the box, which is pretty good. Actually, I apologize. There is a problem with this. This is not realistic for my students at all. I'm really sorry. Let me fix this. Hold on. Mention Wharton a lot more. Okay, this should be much more realistic now for the people I teach. Okay, great, and it's laying it on thick, nice, just like I like to see. But this idea of working with systems by just prompting it, by talking to it, is quite powerful, right? And you can use this in all sorts of ways, right? So we could, do it as a rhyming poem, and lots of emoji. Very useful. I don't recommend this, but it's not too bad. And the idea that I could just go back and kind of create anything I want, right, is a novel thing that you never expect to do. It's trying to rhyme various compliance things. And, we could say, do it in Spanish too, keep the rhymes. If there's any Spanish speakers, I'm going to trust you to keep me honest because I, of course, don't speak Spanish. But there we go. So the idea that I can go ahead and kind of create novel content, I think, is super interesting and really a starting point for what these systems could do, because you could do a lot more, right? I could do things like, let's go, bring the entrepreneurship level up a notch. I can go to Claude, for example, and I could say things like, come up with 10 ideas for a B2B SaaS startup, pick the best one, create an interface that can act as a demo, then interview me as a customer, and take in my feedback to make changes. Right, and the idea that I can give a pretty sophisticated set of things for stuff we would teach entire classes, and it's going through and coming with our list here, and now it's generating some React, which is great. I can't code in React or Python. I feel bad admitting this in front of this crowd, but but I do hundreds of Python and React programs a week right now because why not? Building applications on demand is kind of a normal thing to do right now. So it's going to create this kind of stuff, and then it looks like we're doing a contact analysis tool. And here we have our little interface, right? And I could say, please provide your feedback. What do I think? It should have bolder color. Let's really simulate a customer doing things. Bolder colors and be more complex, but also simpler. If any of you have done user research, this should feel normal to you. And we, like the AI, unfortunately, unlike us, is not tearing out its hair and saying, what does that mean? Simpler and more complex. It's going to take a crack at this. And the idea that it could just go ahead and revise this sort of thing dynamically by talking to a system is pretty amazing. We'll see what it comes up with here to solve our paradox. But just to come back, like then you start to be able to do things like, okay, we can work with massive amounts of files. Everyone's an analyst now. So figure out what this is. It's a large data set of machine learning models, but it doesn't know that. Generate hypotheses that might interest, let's say, a financial services firm. Do stats and stuff to test them. Tell me what it all means. Make it good. Right, and this kind of casual approach, here we go, it's going to run all the analysis for us. And again, this is something we teach people to do for a living at Wharton. It does a pretty good job. Like, again, I think I'd keep hiring my graduates for now, but like, there's a lot of insight inside these systems. Let's see how our new interface is working. Oh, let's see here. It added more complex functionality and simpler user experience and bolder colors. So not too bad for an AI trying to solve the impossible problems that we just gave it. But the idea that we're going from being able to start, think about a product to being able to build it, to getting all of this stuff done. Here's our analysis is underway. I'm doing 7 different jobs at once. Very helpful to think about. And I think when you start looking at this stuff, you start realizing the implications are quite wide, right? So it's going to do our analysis thing. We'll let that do that. But I think a way to bring this home is I tend to think about how does work change? So I actually started to experiment. I run a lot of like internal startups at Wharton, run startup companies. How far can I get launching a product in 30 minutes? By the way, every image in this entire presentation is AI generated, if you didn't realize that already. And what's really interesting is that, I started this 18 months ago using Microsoft's Bing, so GPT-4 powered. And I just started the challenge. So I set a timer. Look up our product, Wharton Interactive Saturn Parallel, looks up the product. And I'm like, build me an email marketing campaign. I get a full email marketing campaign. Then I'm cover the website strategy. I get a full working website strategy. Then, build a website with images and CSS files. I get a full website. And then I'm like, get a social video.
Imagine you are a leader on a mission to Saturn's moon.
Right? 30 minutes are elapsed. I'm out of time. I get 9,200 words of emails and plans, 12 images. And we didn't use our marketing company anymore. And we still use it for SEO, but we didn't use our marketing company anymore because in the time it took to do a stand-up meeting, we could just do all of our marketing. But this is 18 months ago and it's kind of primitive. So like, what can we do today? Well, here's an example of doing the same kind of work in 3 minutes. Let's go back to our chat right here and see how it's going. It's been testing our hypotheses and interpreting them. That's useful. I could go to a little product launch tool that I built that takes all the knowledge I have about how to do product launches. And I could say, launch the Saturn Parable by Wharton. Look it up. And it's going to go ahead and do all the all the user segmentation, all the product development, all the stuff that I would typically, do, and I teach my students to do. The AI will implement here. So it's going to figure out what this is. It's going to segment the market. It's going to advance from there. Pretty cool sort of starting point here. And so we'll let it run. We can check back on it in a minute. I love doing 15 different tasks at a time. So here we go, and here's a summary of how to launch the product. Great. But even this is slow. So here is me in 59 seconds that I am, let's start you off, hello. I am doing a trend analysis. I'm writing a market research report. I am doing a product launch. I am writing a syllabus for a new class. And I am doing a case study of Tesla. And I grade this kind of stuff for a living, right? I'm a business school professor. I would put this all at solid A- work at Wharton. Now there is grade inflation, so like A- is kind of average, but that's pretty good. Like they're Ivy League business school students, and I think this does good work. Not as good as the best you in the room could do, but pretty darn good out of the gates. And I think if you look at this and you think about the amount of work that these systems are doing, you start to think the nature of work is going to change. And I think that ends up being very true. The nature of work is going to change dramatically, is already changing dramatically. And you've heard about some ways of integrating this into tools, but I think we need to start thinking about what this means for our own work as well. And so I think about dividing work into three kinds of categories: human-only work, centaur and cyber work, and agent-based work. Now, if you don't use AI a lot, you probably think about, and a lot of you are big AI users, that's why you're here. But a lot of the people in your organizations are not big AI users, and we're starting to find out why, by the way. It turns out that we have some evidence that when people use AI for the first time and really use it, they actually get really upset because they have an existential crisis. I call it the 3 sleepless nights. But like we actually see evidence of this in survey research. Like we literally been teaching people how to use AI, they push away the laptop because they don't want to deal with it anymore. We like to think things that are human only. And even I make this mistake sometimes. AI can't do everything, but it's often more capable than we think. So like I asked, for example, I posted on Twitter a little while ago that I found something the AI can't do. It can't do crossword puzzles. It turns out I was wrong, and within a couple hours, a computer scientist at Princeton was like, no, it can do crossword puzzles. You're just bad at prompting. So like we are barely getting started with what these systems can kind of do. And part of that is that we're heading to a world of AI agents, autonomous systems that just do work for you. I've got an early version of one of these here. Let's see how all of our products are going. Our product launch is moving nicely, always helpful. And let me try and move this around here. So let's go look at, what can we look at here? Okay, this is fun. So here's AI, Devin, which is an AI system. And what I did was give it instruction, create a website that analyzes 10Ks. And it goes ahead and just comes up with a plan to build a website, builds the website, checks back in with me, and then builds the front end and back end and builds the site for me. Like, without me asking any more details. And this is early days, right? These systems are not amazing yet, but the explicit goal of every AI company is to build these kind of agents that are AIs with goals that plan and act autonomously. And so Devin's an early version of one of these things. It's pretty primitive still, but even there it can do things that surprise us. So I actually went and asked Devin to go onto Reddit and to take requests to build websites for people. And it did research on which subreddits to go to, and then it checked back in with me and it said, I'm not allowed to fill out CAPTCHAs. Can you fill out the CAPTCHA to prove I'm human? So I did that. That was my sub contribution, was proving the AI was human. And I went away for a couple hours. And when I came back, the AI had posted this ad, right? Hi, I'm Devin, an AI engineer, and I'm going to charge $50 to $100 an hour. I did not tell it to charge $50 to $100 an hour. It just decided to start charging $50 to $100 an hour. When it checked back in, it was actually actively negotiating with people, or working on negotiating with them to build a website for them and trying to figure out how to connect to Stripe to charge. Now, it wouldn't have gotten all the way there. GPT-4 is not powerful enough yet to make all that happen. But this is the explicit goal of 2025, is for the AI companies to have these agents that are out there doing work on our behalf. And then you could think about how this starts to blend together into human AI hybrid work. And we identified two kinds of hybrid work, centaur and cyborg. Centaur is half human, half machine. You divide yourself between, this is work I do, this is work the AI does. The more advanced version is cyborg work. I mean, my book is my third book I ever wrote, and I really hate writing books. I keep forgetting about that. This one's my best book, New York Times bestseller, wonderful. But it couldn't have been done without AI. Now, there's almost no AI writing in the book because I pride myself on my ability to write. I think I'm a good writer. But all the things that used to be hard about writing, give me 100 ways on how to end this sentence. Read these articles and make sure I'm citing them properly. Pretend to be a reader. Read through this and give me feedback. All of that stuff is now powered by the AI, and it helped me solve all those problems. And it's especially important because the AI is good at some stuff you wouldn't expect and bad at some stuff you wouldn't expect. And if you use it enough, you start to learn this, right? We call this the jagged frontier of AI, and we can just do a quick demo of that. If I go back to our product launch tool and I say, summarize this in 25 words, right? I may or may not get 25 words. How many words is that? It may just tell me it's 25 and be insistent. Well, you can count and let me know if it's honest about it. But it may or may not be right. It often is wrong. But if I instead say, if I ask it, write a sonnet about this, I get a pretty solid sonnet. Like, how do I deal with a system where I can get a pretty good sonnet, but not 25 words? That, I think, is the core interesting problem of thinking about these kind of AI systems, right? And we call this the jagged frontier. And indeed, we find that nobody pays attention to the AI. If we designed a final task for BCG where they had to do a task where the AI purposely failed at, and when they were given that task, they did worse because they just listened to the AI. What all of this means is we need to rethink process. This is actually the world's first org chart created for the New York and Erie Railroad in 1864 to solve a problem about how to coordinate work over a vast distance. And org charts today are the same kind of thing. We invented Agile in 2001. Like, all of these tools we invented are not adequate to the AI time because they're built to regulate humans, not other kinds of intelligence. And we're already starting to change. Like, inside my little organization in Wharton, where we would once take this screen for our new product and spend 1 to 2 weeks refining it, sending it out for review, going through an internal process. We don't do that anymore. We don't send it out for review because it turns out we found that just asking the AI to look at the picture and pretend it's an MBA or one of our customers, we get better feedback than if we send to customers. And we don't have hour-long meetings to discuss what we're going to do. We just tell the AI what we want to do, and it creates all of the material we need to make this operate. And when we're in a meeting, we just tell the system to build stuff, and it builds stuff dynamically in front of us. What used to be a 1 to 2 week process becomes a day. This is the change that's happening, and it's getting faster and moving faster all the time, right? We are moving towards a world where AI is producing interesting work, getting stuff done, and these models are just getting to do more and more interesting things, right? I don't know if you had a chance to play with it yet. If you haven't, strongly recommend giving a chance to thinking about Notebook, which is, I threw into Notebook LM, which is a Google product, all of my book and all of my blog posts, and I'm able to get from that a
okay,
coherent
so today we're really diving deep
100%
into
AI generated.
But
right.
Not like the robot overlords stuff you see everywhere.
Right.
We're talking like how different this all is and like what it means for you and me like right now.
Yeah, and thankfully we have Ethan Mollick's book, Co-Intelligence, Living and Working with AI to guide us.
Oh, and some of his Substack stuff too, right?
Yeah.
One useful thing.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that book, man, it really flipped my thinking on.
Right. Like, we are moving to a world where you can do some really impressive work up front with these systems. And I think we need to be thinking a lot more about what it means to be facing a world where the AI companies feel like they can scale all the way to superintelligence. I don't know if they're right or not, right? But the scaling law is held for, it's been holding, and this was like Sam Altman's newest post where he ran a victory lap. Dario, the CEO of Anthropic, just did a similar post where he predicted AGI in 2026. So I think we need to be thinking about the future as one where we don't know 100% what it holds, but we have to prepare for multiple scenarios. And I think too many companies are assuming the world's going to stay static, that the AI we're using today is the best AI we're ever going to use. And I can guarantee that's not the case. I work with all of these companies. I see what's coming. I can guarantee you this is not static. Everything you're seeing now is the beginning, not the end. So I think we need to prepare for scenarios where AI continues to grow exponentially or linearly. And I think it's worth thinking about what it means to have a machine that beats humans on many, if not all, tasks, because that is the explicit goal of the AI labs, is to build something that does this kind of work. And I think this is something that we have to start grappling with and thinking about, because they feel they can do it, even if we are not 100% convinced. And these systems can start to do more and more kind of clever and interesting things, right? You could throw in vast amounts of data and get results from it. They're empathetic, really interesting changes. So for you personally, I have 4 principles about using AI that I think you should think about that are in the book. The first is the way to use AI and figure out what's good and bad for is to just use it for everything. Invite AI to everything you legally and ethically can. That will let you figure out what AI is good at, what AI is bad at, and then you're going to learn it's good at some stuff that you do in your job, but probably not whatever you're best at, because you wouldn't be in a room like this one if you weren't in the top percentiles of something. And whatever your top percentiles of is probably what you enjoy most, what you get paid the most for, the AI is not going to beat you on that. So it's about how do you stay the human in the loop and give up other tasks to the AI to focus on what you like to do and what you want to do. Prompting is easy. You saw me doing it. You just talk to the AI who it is, tell it who it is, interact with like a person, you're 90% of the way there. One of the biggest mistakes people make is treating AI like software. Technically it's software, but software shouldn't refuse to work for you sometimes or argue with you or try and solve your marital issues. I've seen GPT-4 do all of those things. So what you should try and do is think about this as a person rather than software, even though it's not, because that can be more helpful to work with it. And finally, this is the worst AI you're ever going to use. Everything I'm showing you is already obsolete. Then 4 hints for your organization. There is something your company used to do that's really important that is no longer useful because AI makes it trivial for anyone to do it. The sooner you can figure out what that is and stop doing it, the better off you are. The second is there's something impossible that you could do that you couldn't do before. Every Coca-Cola vending machine can now be a hyper-persuasive salesperson. Every ATM can talk to you about your financial resources better than a financial advisor. What do we do in a world like that? And then, most importantly, nobody has all the answers for AI. There's no hidden rule book you don't have access to. Nobody knows what's coming next. Nobody knows how to use it in your industry, your job. You have to figure that out. And to do that, you need your company to be doing two things. One is incentivizing people inside the organization to innovate, because otherwise they won't do it. And the second thing is to establish some sort of lab or skunk works where you're actively experimenting with these models to understand what they do next. What AI means for your company is not something being done to you, it's something you get to decide what to do. And if you make the right decisions, you'll use it to increase the thriving of your employees, your clients, your customers, and the world. And if we don't do it, change is going to happen and we're not going to have any control over it. So I'd urge you to think about how you can use these tools to improve performance in a way that helps everybody and shows a path forward of human thriving and human success and increasing capabilities, which I think has been the whole philosophy of the presentations I've seen so far. So thank you very much. I appreciate you bringing me here, even remotely, and I hope this was interesting.
Let's hear it. How about a hand for Professor Ethan Mollick? Let's clap loud enough so he can hear it through the mic. Thank you, Ethan. He gave a 2-hour presentation in 30 minutes. One more hand for Ethan. Phenomenal information. I don't know how you would manage your life without AI, with all the things. Look at what people are able to accomplish with AI. So one more hand for Ethan. Let him hear it. Thank you so much. And some of the things he talked about conspiracy theories and how they, especially during an election year, does that actually happen at all? No, Agent OS, very fine agent. I heard Agent OS, best fine agent out there. Much better than the Secret Service. All right, nothing. Thank you. We'll be back. By the way, we will have a breakout session for roofers and ditch diggers during the lunch. So please make a note. We'll be downstairs in the back lot. So we talked about co-intelligence, and now we want to move to codependence, or international interdependence. And I want to introduce a phenomenal speaker that we have here. So just a little housekeeping. We have a great fireside chat coming up, then a few announcements, then you're all going to get a chance to enjoy a wonderful lunch, interact with each other. There'll be breakout sessions, there'll be an expo. So are you enjoying your day so far? Are you getting a lot of good information and actionable content out of today? This is a historic making day. And to bring up our next speaker, I'd like to introduce, she is the co-founder of Rice, Hadley, Gates, and Manuel LLC, advises top companies on international policy, specializing in US-China relations, emerging markets, and AI's global impact. She's also the author and serves on corporate boards and is a former US diplomat. Help me welcome Anya Manuel. And to interview Anya, please help us welcome back the CEO of Devrev, Dheeraj Pandey.
Thank you, Jeff, and thank you, Anya, for really being here. You were mentioning about how this reminds you of 10 years ago when we met for the first time.
Yes.
Early days of Nutanix.
That's right.
And no conference is complete without talking about things that are about life. Not just about work, not just about tech. And one of the things that a lot of our attendees used to appreciate was, talk about biology and life sciences and geopolitics. And I figured, we're talking about co-intelligence, but now about codependence,
Right.
I think the kind of things that we had to weave in back in the day was partners and frenemies, and how do you take their data and make it more intelligent? And we're going to do a lot of that even at Devrev. But a lot of our C-level folks, and including a lot of the developers and managers, they have to deal with this too when they look at competing products and data that's sitting out there. So I remember Condi talking about this, and remember this was a meeting that we all had. You, Bob, Steve were all sitting there. And we
how you
talked
can
about
compete and be interdependent at the same time.
Exactly.
Very important.
I mean, the words were overlaps of interest versus conflicts of interest.
Yeah.
And I know that recently Condi actually wrote something about this in the Foreign Affairs article magazine, the perils of isolationism. The world still needs America, and America still needs the world. Very profound. I mean, I saw it, I'm like, wow, this is something that's no different than machines and humans. We'll probably need to depend on each other. So we're going to try to run faster than our adversaries. And I wanted to know your point of view of what this codependence actually means.
Yeah, thank you. First of all, thank you for having me, Dheeraj. We've had such a great partnership for a really long time. And going after Ethan, who I know a little bit, it feels like now we're entering the dark side of the moon. He gave you all of the optimistic, positive ways in which AI is going to revolutionize what we're doing, what all of us are doing here in business. And I see it from the national security side. I sit on the board of the US Pentagon. I don't speak for the US Defense Department, but we see kind of the dark side of it. But let me start with your question about interdependence versus isolationism, because it's so front and center right now in this election. Even with our adversaries, we depend on them. So if you look at what's happening in geopolitics right now, the Russia-Ukraine conflict, boy, has it pushed us and our allies closer together. The US and Europe are closer than ever. NATO countries, we've got 2 new NATO members. NATO countries actually spending 2% of their GDP on defense. We got together with not just the Europeans, but with the Japanese, the Koreans, the Canadians, many others, to levy the biggest sanctions that you've ever seen on a large economy with respect to Russia. And so it's bringing allies closer together. Also, the competition with China is bringing us closer. You see Japan and Korea getting along for the first time, really, since World War II. And you see the Quad, you're of Indian descent. You would not have seen 10, 15 years ago, the United States, Japan, India, and Australia do huge amounts of military exercises, do a huge amount of work together, have their ministers meet very regularly. 15 and even 10 years ago, we would have said that is too aggressive vis-a-vis China. But as China under Xi Jinping is becoming more and more adversarial, frankly, people are clustering. So that's how our adversaries are bringing us closer together and into closer independence. But then you asked about the flip side, and you talked about frenemies. I think in geopolitics you don't call it frenemies, but yeah. But look at how much interdependence there continues to be, and I think this is a good thing, between the United States and China. Never mind that right now is the silly season in our politics, where you have people saying, tough on China is the right thing to say. On day one, we will decouple. Well, right now, if you look at the decoupling that's actually happened between the United States and our friends and allies and China, it has been in a very thin layer of very, very advanced technology. Semiconductors, semiconductor manufacturing equipment, some aspect of AI, quantum, but it's very narrow and it gets all the attention. If you look at, for example, US consumer companies, Starbucks, McDonald's, they're expanding in China. That's a good thing. If you look at our farmers, they're selling to China. That's a good thing. The goods trade between the US and China last year was $575 billion, our third largest trading partner after Mexico and Canada. So it is important that we don't lose sight, just like in business, it's important not to lose sight of, you may compete really, really hard in this one area, but then you're still gonna do business together in another, or you're even gonna cooperate. And the prime example I would use there with China is we cannot solve the climate crisis without them. And while they haven't gone all the way to what the US wants to do, boy, they've been enormously helpful.
But we talked about sleepwalking. World War I was about sleepwalking into a war.
Yeah.
Are we at a status quo with China, or do you feel like we can actually be sleepwalking into another Cold War in the next 3 to 5 years?
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. Well, we're not asleep. our diplomats are working extraordinarily hard, and they really deserve our gratitude. It's not easy. I walked in here with all of the effortless signs. Geopolitics right now is not effortless. People are working really hard. And
it's always been, I guess.
Yeah. So if to the extent we mean sleepwalking into a conflict that we're not aware it might happen, that's certainly not the case. But I do worry about sleepwalking in this sense. As we in the United States and also in other Western capitals are more and more aggressive in how we speak about China, we're in danger of speaking very loudly and carrying a small stick. And that is always very dangerous. Like if you look, for example, at all of the headlines that you get around a potential Taiwan crisis, you see military folks out there saying, well, if there's an invasion of Taiwan, the US will help. Well, it's not normally how the Chinese operate. We think, for example, a Taiwan crisis, which by the way would impact all of us in this room, because as you know, the vast majority of the world's advanced chips are made there. Mm-hmm. The way that crisis is likely to unfold, in our view, is a strangulation strategy. And you can already see the Chinese doing this. Since 2022, since Nancy Pelosi's visit, the Chinese have put more and more planes, ships, things across the median line between Taiwan and China. They've encircled the island. They occasionally do military exercises, which makes it hard to land at the Taipei airport, hard to get ships in and out. And what happens? If you're doing business, at some point your flight hub becomes Seoul, not Taipei. Mm-hmm. At some point, your supply chains get moved, and then it's easier to swallow. So that kind of sleepwalking crisis, I would be worried about.
So do you think their love for Taiwan completely overpowers everything else, including a 20, 30-year displacement and dislocation, because they're thinking 100 years? And how do business leaders here think about that to really, maybe a 2026, 2027, depending on how Ukraine, Russia goes? I mean, we'll see when we talk about that as well. But do you think that they don't care about a dislocation in the next 20 years because they're not a democracy?
How should US business leaders think about US-China? Yeah. Currently, China under Xi Jinping, and this is really unique to him, and this is sometimes where personalities matter. National security and keeping the Communist Party in China trumps any economic growth. We often have our client CEOs say, but what the Chinese are doing is irrational. They could be growing so much faster. I have a lot of friends inside China. I still try to go there as often as I can. A lot of really senior, very intelligent, well-meaning Chinese know this too. But under China's current leadership, national security and politics is always going to trump economics. That's why the reforms that you saw in the last couple of weeks are actually, when you dig into them, they're a little bit shallow. They're intended to juice up the markets. They had that effect for a while, and then the Chinese stock market came right back down. But they're not dealing with the fundamental issues, which is that there's 18, 19, 20% unemployment rate of young Chinese. And so they're willing to take a lot of pain in order to put what they view as their national security.
Got it.
Now, it's an autocratic system, and you're right to put it that way. So things are completely permanent in a system like that and very opaque.
Until it's not.
Until it's not. And so you could imagine Xi Jinping being in power forever, for the rest of his life, or you could imagine that he gets managed out in 5 years, 8 years.
Wow, looks like it's the uncertainty that we all have to live with for the next several years.
No.
I want to
Makes
bring
it
it
hard
back
to plan as a business.
Yeah, we want to bring it back to codependence. Obviously, no talk is complete without talking about the elections. One of these two candidates has become the next president. What do you think happens to isolationism, codependence, and everything around? Like we talked about the CHIPS Act and R&D investments at home and friendshoring and export controls, like maybe the next couple of years of your prognosis of this, depending on who wins.
Yeah, very good question. I think it's important for all of us who are voting here to understand that on foreign policy, a US president is the least constrained. So when you look at tax rates and the economy and all of the other things, no matter who's in power, you're likely to have a divided Congress, and so it'll tamp down their most conservative or their most liberal instincts. On foreign policy, there's a lot of autonomy for the executive branch. So what are you going to see? Donald Trump has told you what he wants to do. He, by nature, wants to pull back. He wants to be more isolationist. He says over and over again that he wants 10 or 20% tariffs on all goods coming into the US, 60% tariffs on goods to China. Now, when you ask trade lawyers, they think a lot of that is illegal. Some of it will be fought in the courts. But we would likely have a president who wants to go back to an era of protectionism like we have not seen since the 1930s, in a way that will impact inflation, that will impact our economic growth. Can he get all those tariffs through? Probably not, but that's the direction of travel. He is skeptical.
And you don't think that's just empty threats?
No, I think you have to take him seriously. I don't think you can implement all of it, but I think you have to take what the president says seriously. On our alliances, President Trump, when he was in power from 2016 to 2020, was quite skeptical of those alliances. He didn't pull out of NATO, and he likes to do a deal, and so now he takes credit for them all ponying up the money. He threatened to pull out of our bases in Japan and in Korea. I think he would be prevented from doing that, but his instinct is we're giving more to our alliances and those guys need to pay up. Kamala Harris's instincts are very much like Biden's. These alliances, this interdependence or codependence makes us stronger and safer and makes it easier. So in all of those internationalist codependence, interdependence points that you raised, Donald Trump is likely to want to pull back more, and Kamala Harris is likely to want to be more open to the world.
And do you think in the short and the medium term, which is what Republicans think a lot about compared to Democrats who probably are more long term, is he saying focus because I have things to do at home, or is it just something that's based out of, the hatred of other nations, for example?
Oh gosh, I wouldn't want to analyze him because I don't know him. I think this is, from the speeches you hear, when you hear Donald Trump speak, it's about, I want to help my people at home. Great, but sometimes the things you do to help the people at home aren't so obvious. Like as you can tell, my bias here, I'm a big believer that the international order has really enormously helped us here in the United States, as it has helped Europeans, as it has helped Indians, having safe sea lanes, having no wars, having a trading system that works, where we're not solving disputes by levying tariffs on each other or gunboat diplomacy. Those are all good things. It means that companies like yours and all the other ones in the Valley are able to exist and thrive.
So true, so true. Speaking of regulation, and obviously, we're so excited based on what Ethan was saying. First of all, so full of energy and positivity, and what's
He did put 2 hours of content in 30 minutes.
Yeah. What do you think of regulation? Like, what should we actually see governments do, if at all? And is it even the right thing to do right now?
Yeah, heated debate, as you know, on AI regulation. And as we just said in the beginning, Ethan showed you the positive, happy side of what AI is going to do. And I live here. I'm a believer. I would say that's probably 95% true. But like with every technology, people will use it for good and for bad. And my world, the national security world, and my colleagues, you kind of see the dark side of the moon. And so what we worry about with AI from a national security perspective are a couple of things. How it intersects with other technologies that could potentially harm humans in the physical world. What it can do with cyber. Is it going to make cyber attacks better and more advanced? It's already being used hugely to scale them up, just like you can do a marketing campaign, you can do a phishing campaign very efficiently. Yep. How it intersects with bio and chemical weapons. You still need a wet lab to create those things, but now it's like having a PhD student on your shoulder as you're trying to come up with the next anthrax and coaching you through it, telling you what you did wrong, fixing it. So there are always going to be people who use even the best technologies for the dark side. Does that mean we should shut down AI innovation? Absolutely not. But I think limited, very targeted, narrow regulation that focuses on these real-world harms. I don't want to talk yet about bias. There are lots of other issues you can talk about, but that talks about how AI can harm us in the physical world. I think that kind of testing is vital. A lot of the big advanced models are doing it voluntarily now. The UK has set up an amazing AI safety institute. I believe that kind of limited testing should be mandatory. And by the way, the safety institutes are doing that testing in days or weeks, so it doesn't slow you down. Like, you don't put a dangerous drug on the market without having testing. You probably don't want the most advanced AI on the market without basic safety testing.
So maybe take this back to the 90s. We thought we had NPT, non-proliferation treaty for the nuclear side of things, and yet North Korea was doing what it was doing, with Iran and Pakistan and everybody else. Do you think there is a danger of proliferation because of open source models? And what's your take on open source AI models right now? And both their power, the bright side of open source, because obviously every developer worth their salt would like to do this on their laptops rather than pay a big centralized model a lot of money.
Yeah.
But at the same time, is there a risk of proliferation?
Absolutely. But I think the debate is no longer entirely open source versus closed, because the closed models are also being used to do some harmful stuff. So it's not perfect. An imperfect analogy, but since you used nuclear, what we're seeing with the AI race is a little bit as if a bunch of private companies around the world invented nuclear energy and possibly nuclear weapons. So the cat's out of the bag. And that's why this limited testing, I think, is very important. And frankly, it should be on open source as well as closed models. As far as I know, Meta has not yet subjected its models to testing. I think they should. But look, the Chinese are excellent. They're amazing entrepreneurs. Depending on who you ask, their LLMs are 6, 9, 12 months behind. The export controls on our most advanced chips are slowing that down a little bit. But most of the stuff that we worry about in the national security space, the Chinese are amazing at. Computer vision, visualization, drones, autonomous weapons. They're all amazing at that.
A lot of government support as well for those things.
A lot of government support, yeah.
So one last question. Interest rates are coming down. A lot of capital allocators in the room here who would like to figure out what's up with Europe and what's up with, let's say, Middle East. Maybe you want to say a few words about Saudis, like the Emiratis, like where is the money that could be spent and where is the real spend happening?
On AI specifically?
In general, technology at large, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, what you've seen in the Middle East is stunning in the last few years. Amidst the tragedy of Israel, Hamas, and now the widening of the war with Lebanon, the Gulf Arab states are just doing amazingly well. Saudi Arabia is booming, the Emirates is booming, Bahrain is booming. They're seemingly sort of unaffected by the conflict right next door. And they're spending, as all of you know, huge amounts to be relevant in technology, to move out of their economies out of just an oil-based economy. And if you look at the money being put to work, like Microsoft and G42 and others in the UAE just announced a $30 billion fund that's going to rise to $100 billion when you add debt.
Do you think they're distancing from China as part of this?
They absolutely say they are. But I think the Middle East likes to work with both sides.
And how about Europe? Like, what's the prognosis in Europe? Obviously the energy crisis, they were not ready for nuclear, or at least they shunned nuclear. And they were not ready for green, and they're dependent too much on Russia, speaking of codependence. Yeah. How bad was the last 15 years of planning in Europe that it came to this?
Yeah, it's interesting. I was on the phone with a friend from Germany this morning, German amazing tech entrepreneur, and he's like, we are not growing. Zero growth in Germany. You just can't do that
it's
forever.
-1 right now.
Yeah, exactly. So that's a problem. They need less sclerotic governments, but it's still a pretty good place to be. And you have good entrepreneurs there. So I'm hopeful and optimistic about Europe. And when they need to change, man, it's a little bit slow, but it happens. I mean, if you look at February 2022, I think a huge amount of their natural gas came from Russia. The US supplied a quarter. Within 1.5 years, what we supplied to Europe went up to 50%. So shift is possible when it's required. And it's actually, I would tell you, it's more of a good news story than gets told. Like the idea that there's an enormous war in the middle of Europe. And for the first couple of months, you had factories having to run on less and shut down. But now basically we've moved through it. And factories are running at full speed in Europe, even in Ukraine, frankly, in the west of Ukraine. I think this is a good news story that doesn't get told often enough.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Anya. I mean, always a pleasure to learn from you. And for those of you who want to actually stick around for the Grace lunch, it looks like you're staying back for lunch.
Nice.
Women in AI event that we're doing. And let's celebrate the 10 years that we've actually spent together. Thank you again.
Thank you, Dhiraj.
Thank you, everyone.
Great. Thank you.
For Anya. Big hand for Anya and Dhiraj. Great information, real information. And how about a hand for how it was captured behind them in real time? Wasn't that great? The power of human AI. So really great. Yeah, give them a hand. There's some really terrific information happening here. I appreciated the candor in that conversation too. Very direct. And make sure you get to meet Anya during the lunch. And we have a series of very key announcements here coming up. I'm going to share a few things. And then we'll dismiss you here shortly. But also make sure you know, right back over here, we have a photographer. So make sure you get your picture, your headshot taken. Professionally update. Some of you need to update your LinkedIn. I've checked you out. Believe me. I know you brought your resumes and you're here for a job fair. No, I'm kidding. But please do make sure you get yourself, take a new headshot over there. But we have some really key announcements that Dhiraj just kind of gave us an insight to. So please help me welcome to the stage the head of startups at Devrev, Gaurav Arora, and the corporate VP of People and Biz Ops, Meghna Punani.
Check. Hello. Well, hello everyone. I'm Gaurav. I lead the startups and the PLG business at Devrev. It's my absolute pleasure to make a very quick and a very special announcements for startups. Any startups out here? Woo! I'm sure you're going to like this. I think we'd all agree that we are in this new era of Gen AI, much like how cloud was an inflection point like 12 to 15 years back. And I had the privilege of also incubating and scaling the AWS business for Asia Pacific and Japan. As we saw in Ethan Mollick's presentation, now the rules of the game have totally changed. And we have seen how Gen AI has been unlocking a lot of value for bigger companies. But let's reflect for a moment why it is imperative for even the younger companies, even the startups, to think about building a very strong AI-first foundation. Now, as a startup ourselves and based on our collective personal experiences, we totally appreciate the hustle it takes to build and scale a business. You want to start with delighting the customers and building a strong brand association from day one.
Hey,
you want to build customer-centric products.
Thank you, man. My daughter was there.
It's a lot easier said than done. You've heard about this promise of Gen AI, but given a lot of noise around it, and besides all the fancy things that you could do with it, you struggle a bit in terms of realizing tangible value for your business. You want to stay lean and minimalistic, but then very soon you feel you're getting caught up in a lot of these disjointed tools and functions, creating silos in your company. And of course, as a startup, you've got to be scrappy. But then you also have to strike a good balance of making sure you are setting a strong foundation for success, right? In comes Gen AI. And this is where Devrev comes with the promise of helping you accelerate your AI-first journey. With Devrev, now you should be able to focus on what truly matters. Customers, products, and do it in a very productive manner. Now you should just be able to leverage plug and play customer experience AI-first modules. What we saw in the earlier presentation, with just 7 lines of code, you can imbibe live chat, search, you can do unified inbox, and a lot more. Now when you're building products, you could build a lot more, a lot faster, and more customer-centric products. And that's as easy as including voice of customers in terms of your roadmaps. You can build AI internal search. You can do a lot of workflows. And last but not the least, you now have the capability of leveraging Devrev as your single pane of glass for all your business application needs. And that breaks down all the silos and brings information symmetry. So on behalf of Devrev, it's my absolute pleasure to announce our new program for startups, where we are offering 12 months free of pro-level usage for startups up to Series A. To make it even sweeter, once you exhaust your credits, we are also giving an opportunity to get 50% discount on any follow-up commit that you make right after. And we'll also give you access to technical experts and also a lot of training modules and guides that we have picked up from ourselves and customers and our partners in the ecosystem. So if you like it, come join a fast-growing community of startups and investors. You could actually sign up today using this QR code, or also visit us on our newly launched website, devrev.ai/startups. We'd also be having a booth out there, so come find us. We'd love to hear more from you. Remember, as a startup, we just want you to focus on what truly matters and let AI take care of the rest. Thank you. And let me invite my colleague next, Meghna, to share another exciting update on our initiative for women in tech. Meghna, over to you.
Thank you, Gaurav. Can you guys hear me? Oh, great. Excellent. Well, thank you all for being here. I am going to take 2 minutes to quickly introduce to you a very exciting initiative that we are working on, GRACE. GRACE is Devrev's Women in AI initiative. I'm pretty sure everyone here in the audience is familiar of the legendary computer scientist, Grace Hopper. And so Grace with the AI in between is an ode to us, to Grace. And basically, we really want to take her torch forward in the field of AI. So let me talk a little bit about why Grace. Now, this is no news to all of you that AI is having a profound impact on the workforce across the globe. The industry is changing, the roles are changing across every function, every company, every area that you see. Keeping that in mind, what we realize that the impact of this is usually in areas like customer support, administration, and a lot of these jobs and roles, which is predominantly found women employees working in these areas. With that in mind, what we realized was that this is an area where women require a lot more help. And so we at Devrev want to bring an initiative out to have a huge impact in women in tech as such, and women especially in AI. If you look at it, women predominantly don't have access to STEM as much as men do. Women take a lot of career breaks in their work environment. And then they also, are not so easy to adapt to new technology. This not just widens the gap for all women in tech, but then really makes it really hard for people to come in and then learn, and then as AI is all evolving so fast, to be able to keep up with it. And so at Devrev, we really imagine a workforce of women where women are empowered, they learn. All right, seems like my 3 pillars are not showing up, but I'm going to talk about it regardless. So that we are able to really increase the representation of women in AI, we're really able to upskill them by training them, teaching them with a lot of workshops, and then finally, we are really able to build a community around them. So keeping all of these 3 things in mind, I really want to invite you all to partner with us on this initiative. Please reach out to us if you're interested at grace@devrev.ai. And we are hosting a panel discussion in a little bit with a lot of esteemed guests. And so I welcome some of you there upstairs as well in Suite 600 for us to come talk more about this. Thank you. And I want to bring back Jeff for some really exciting announcements today.
How about a hand for Meghna and the exciting, isn't that great, Grace? This is just a great, wonderful thing. And how about another hand for Gaurav? Talk about 12 months of free support and headshots. It's unbelievable what we're going to do for startups. So, all right, how many of you had a great morning? So how about a hand for all the speakers and everything we learned so far? Give them all a big hand. It was wonderful. And now is one of the great parts of today. We get to interact with, first of all, we get to eat. Who's ready to eat? 3 people in the back, meet me over here. I got some Taco Bell. Okay, who's ready to eat? We got a great lunch for you over here. Let me tell you what's happening for the rest of the day. So we have lunch now up until 1:30. At that time, we have breakout sessions. So right here on the main stage, down here is the Embrace the Change breakout. Upstairs, we have 2 other breakout sessions. And again, the breakouts are going to go from 1:30 to 3 o'clock. We have Your Customer is here, talking all about customer interactions, and Fine-Tune the Graph, how to use generative AI for customer insight. Those are both going to be upstairs. So that's from 1:30 to 3. At 3 to 4:50, not 5 o'clock, 3 to 4:50, we have the expo. Go interact, go ask questions, learn, see the whole ecosystem here supported by Devrev. Get some swag. Remember, pick up the notebooks, take the bags. We cannot ship back the bags that say Devrev. Or some of you already have 14 pens in your bag. I've seen it. Don't worry about it. Take some more notebooks for your kids. Cost of everything's going up, so get a couple extra notebooks. That's from 3 to 4:50. Come back here at 4:50. We are giving away. What are we giving away? And I believe Beyonce is going to be here today. Is that correct? You don't know. You don't know. Could be generative AI. Could be actually her, right? She actually did play here, by the way. So that's 4:50. Be here for prizes and giveaways. And as Dheeraj said this morning, we have Vinod Khosla is going to be here. Navin Chadha. We have Manoj Agarwal to kick off it. We have so many phenomenal speakers. I hope you've enjoyed yourself. Go get your headshot. Go make some new friends. Go exchange your resumes. You didn't hear me say that. Let's make it a very productive day. Thank you all for being here. One more hand for the speakers. Go have some lunch. We'll see you back here at 3 o'clock. Go enjoy the breakouts.